Joining me live now for some analysis ahead of the budget is Managing Director of EQ Economics, Warren Hogan. Sorry about the voice, Warren.
No problem.
This gives you space to talk more. Yep, please do. Do you think this is a budget where we'll see, fiscal prudence fly out the window?
Look, that of course is what we're all worried about in terms of us economists looking at whether or not they're going to sort of put more money into the economy and put upward pressure on both inflation and probably interest rates. It's a pre-election budget. The cost of living crisis is real, and that's hurting the government politically. So you'd have to think that their instinct is to try and do something about that, both politically and also to sort of help these people who are at the lower middle income earners. The problem is they're in a terrible catch-22 because they put new money into the economy. That adds to demand in the economy, and that makes it more inflationary and also puts upward pressure on interest rates. And for the RBA, it gives them a reason to raise rates. So it's going to be a very fine line they're going to walk. I suspect they'll probably do a few things, and I think the RBA is in play and they could hike rates again.
You're known as the Uber hawk, but some people disagree. And, they're saying that you're reading the RBA stats wrong.
Yeah, look, I think even being a hawk is a little unfair. If we look at the scope of history, a hawk would be telling us that our interest rates need to be up at sort of 6%. And that's because this inflation is real. And history shows that if we don't get it out of the economy, the consequences are dire. That is, we'll have to raise rates to such a level that will guarantee a recession and will guarantee loss of businesses and jobs. That's what we saw in the late 80s. It's what we saw in America and Europe in the 1980s. And we just don't want to go there. So, look, I'm still with the RBA on this idea of a narrow path, and my call for a couple more rate hikes, which is just a forecast. Hopefully we don't have to go there, but is all about staying on that trajectory. But most importantly, the real pressure being brought to bear on Australians right now is not from higher interest rates, it's from the cost of living. It's from inflation. So we've really got every incentive to get rid of it, even if that means a short period of higher interest rates.
Yeah, tell me about it. I've got tomatoes at the grocery store selling for $12 a kilo. That's pretty expensive for a very common vegetable. How is the government going to balance all that? Not release too much money into the economy and also try to contain inflation and keep voters happy?
Yeah, well, it is a diabolical situation for them because every political instinct's going to be to sort of be seen to be doing something. But really, that could be counterproductive. We'll find out on Tuesday what their judgment is, both in terms of economic policy and also in terms of the politics. And I think the politics do tend to win the day, unfortunately. And that'll put pressure on the RBA. But it is simply a case that you provide any kind of extra money into the household sector for people who are doing it tough. They will spend it. That'll add demand into the economy, and that makes it harder to get inflation down. It's unfortunately as simple as that. And I fear that what we're going to see on Tuesday night is extra spending. And of course, that will see a lot of economists suggest that that's going to put upward pressure on interest rates.
What would you do if you were Jim Chalmers?
Look, my view for this, and I've been talking about this for a couple of years, is that they needed to take this inflation problem more seriously earlier, and they needed to make a lot of tough decisions earlier and really cut back. But the problem is for most economists, not just the government, but the Treasury, the RBA, bank economists, have underestimated the resilience of the economy and thought that it was going to slow down or even go into recession after rate hikes, and the government therefore shouldn't really cut back too much. But now with hindsight, we know that this economy has actually performed pretty well. So we would have been cutting back earlier, and now we'd be probably at a stage where we could look to go the other way. What would I do right now? I would stick to what they're doing, and I just would have to grin and bear it, not add extra money into the economy. And if it did slow later in the year or early next year, then you can announce new measures ahead of the election.
Okay, good call. Hope Jim's watching. Thanks so much for your time. That was
Thanks, mate.
Warren Hogan from EQ Economics. Great speaking to you.